Oh, good morning, everyone. It says I'm live for now. As as I'm speaking, maybe you'll see this recording post-mortem sometime. But at this point, I'm live. So this morning, we're going to look at, again, we're going to look at the Samyutta Nikaya, the connected discourses. And we're looking at the Kanda Samyutta again, so I'll type in the chat. It's SN 22.89. I'm going to type that in. Doing it today without mishap. 0.89. So that's the sutta reference. Oh, I keep thinking it's a touch screen. There it goes. So good morning. I've got Chittapala has said good morning. And I see a little I with 3 next to it. So maybe that means 3 people are viewing at this point. So good morning, all those in the live for now audience. Okay, so this sutta is called Khemaka. And it's a sutta. Well, maybe I won't spoil the story by explaining what this sutta is known for. But it does talk about the 5 aggregates. It's an explanation of the aggregates by an elder bhikkhu who is ailing. And so other bhikkhus are questioning him about the aggregates. So I will start reading. I have Bhante Sujato's translation here, and also Venerable Bhikkhu Bodhi's, Bhante Bodhi's translation, the hard copy. Okay, so SN 22.89, Khemaka. Bhante Sujato translates it with Khemaka. At one time, several senior mendicants were staying near Kosambi in Gosita's monastery. Now, at that time, Venerable Khemaka was staying in the Juju tree monastery and was sick, suffering, gravely ill. So I'm not sure how far apart the monastery and the Juju, the Gosita's monastery and Juju tree monastery is. Bhante Bodhi says Juju Tree Park. So that may have been the Arama that was some distance or close to the monastery. Maybe they were. I'm just saying this because I'll explain why in a second. In the late afternoon, those senior mendicants came out of retreat and addressed the Venerable Dasika. Please, Reverend Dasika, go to the mendicant Khemaka and say to him, Reverend Khemaka, the seniors hope you're keeping well. They hope you're all right. They hope that your pain is fading, not growing. That its fading is evident, not growing. And Dasika, Venerable Dasika says, yes, Reverence. Yes, Venerable Sirs. I think Bhante Bodhi says, come friend Dasika is how they're addressing Dasika. So he's a junior bhikkhu. I'm assuming he's a junior bhikkhu. So the Venerable Dasika, this how the how he's referred to by both. But the seniors address him as friend or according to Awuso. So he's junior to them, but I'm assuming he's a bhikkhu. Some people thought somewhere I read that he was a novice, but I have a strong feeling he was actually a bhikkhu. And all this discussion of why I'm considering these things is going to be a little more apparent later. So they tell him to go to visit Venerable Khemaka and ask about his well-being. So Dasika says, yes, fit reverence, and went to Khemaka and said to him, Reverend Khemaka, the seniors hope you're keeping well. They hope you're all right. They hope your pain is fading, not growing, that the fading is evident, not its growing. And then Venerable Khemaka says, Na me awuso. He said, no, it's not true, friend. Reverend, I am not keeping well. I am not all right. My pain is terrible and growing, not fading. Its growing is evident, not its fading. So a lot of times there's this discussion like this, and it means a bhikkhu is dying, or a layperson is dying. They describe this in this particular way. Is it getting better? Is it getting worse? So then Dasika went to those seniors and told them what had happened. They said, please, Reverend Dasika, go to the mendicant Khemaka and say to him, Reverend Khemaka, the seniors say that these 5 grasping aggregates have been taught by the Buddha, that is, the grasping aggregate of form, feeling, perception. Sankara is translated here as choices. Bhante Bodhi says volitional formations and consciousness, sense consciousness. These are the 5 clinging aggregates. Do you regard anything among these 5 grasping or clinging aggregates as self or belonging to self? So they're sending Venerable Dasika back. Okay, so that's why I'm saying I don't know how far a distance it is between the 2 places, but he's getting sent back. Yes, Reverence, replied Dasika, and he relayed the message to Khemaka, who replied, see, I can see by the Pali, the whole thing is repeated. Do you regard anything amongst these? Do you regard anything among these 5 grasping aggregates as self or belonging to self? And then Venerable Khemaka replies, these 5 grasping aggregates have been taught by the Buddha. That is, the grasping aggregate of form, feeling, perception, choices, or volition, or volitional willed activities. There's many translations of Sankara. And sense consciousness. I do not regard anything among these 5 grasping aggregates as self or as belonging to self. So if someone is thought to be dying, sometimes the bhikkhus or bhikkhunis might question them regarding their attainment. So he's not seeing any of the 5 aggregates or anything regarding these aggregates as self. I do not regard anything among these 5 aggregates of grasping, among them. See how Bhante Bodhi says this. Regard anything as self or belonging to self among these 5 aggregates subject to clinging. Do you have Ajahn Tanisara's translation of that question?
It's very similar. It's with regard to these 5 clinging aggregates, there is nothing I assume to be self or belonging to self.
And what is it, among, or how does it say? With it?
Among, I'm sorry?
Among the aggregates, or, yeah, this is a little bit.
Yeah, with
Anything in regards to the aggregates, or among the aggregates, belonging to self, or as self.
yeah.
So, yeah, I'm just trying to, sometimes the little subtle wordings make a difference.
It's pretty similar.
It's all pretty similar.
He does for Sankara, he uses fabrications.
Fabrications for Sankara.
Yeah.
So these are all, I think these are all aspects of the word Sankara. Choices, fabrications, volition, willed activities. This is all, Sankara is very, is very a complex aspect of it's a mental aspect. It's most complex. So then Dasika went to those seniors and told them what had happened, that the Venerable Khemaka said that they just I do not regard anything among these 5 grasping aggregates as self or belonging to self. And then, then the seniors say, please, Reverend Dasika, go to the mendicant Khemaka and say to him, Reverend Khemaka, the seniors say these 5 grasping aggregates have been taught by the Buddha, that is. Then they go through the grasping aggregate of form, feeling, perception, sankhara, and sense consciousness. If, as it seems, Venerable Khemaka does not regard anything among these 5 grasping aggregates as self or belonging to self, then he is a perfected one with defilements ended. So they're assuming he's an arahant because he has not, and I hear laughter in the audience. Okay, so now they're questioning him further, right? And they're sending Dasika back with this assumption that he's an arahant. He's declared arahantship. But there's some giggles here. Why is that? Yes, Reverend, replies Dasika, and he relayed the message to Khemaka, who replied. This poor Dasika, I don't know how far he's going to relay this message. Okay. And maybe they thought that it was less troublesome for Venerable Khemaka to have one person come. And or maybe they were just too elderly to make the journey. So anyway, these 5 grasping aggregates have been taught by the Buddha, that is, the grasping aggregate of form, feeling, perception, volition, choices, willed activities, that's all one, sankhara, and sense consciousness. I do not regard anything among these 5 grasping aggregates as self or belonging to self, yet I am not a perfected one without defilements ended. So here's a distinction. So, and this is why I believe that Dasika was probably a junior bhikkhu, because a bhikkhu cannot declare any level of attainment. A stream entry, which He says he's not an arahant. He's not a perfected one. How does Bhante Bodhi say? He says, I am not an arahant whose taints are destroyed. Friends, the notion, okay, here, I'll just read. The notion I am has not yet vanished in me in relation to these five aggregates subject to clinging, but I do not regard anything among them as this I am. So there's a difference here. The seeing the aggregates is supposed to be a mark of someone who's entered the stream. They do not see the aggregates as self or belonging to self. But this conceit of I am, let's see, but I do not regard anything among them as this I am. This is asmi mana. It's a conceit of I am. And there's notes here, which is really a nice thing about Bhikkhu Bodhi's translation, is that he's so beautifully brought notes, and it's a lot of it's from the commentaries, a lot of traditional ideas about the meaning. It's sometimes really helpful to see what's been passed down as far as the thoughts about what this actually means. But it is a hallmark of at least Sotapanna, possibly Anagami. The conceit of I am isn't destroyed until arhatship. So it says, although all three editions, so there's like they're talking about commentarial editions. It's talking about how the Pali is worded as asmi ti adigatang. This probably is an old corruption. I propose reading asmi ti avigatang. So I'm not a Pali scholar, so I'm not sure what that means, but that for anyone who's a Pali scholar, that might be helpful. Okay. So the commentary says, craving and conceit are found occurring in the mode I am. So the conceit of I am is still there, but not seeing these five aggregates as self or belonging to self is a breakthrough to stream entry. So there's this subtle difference that's hard to just describe just simply in words. This passage clarifies the essential difference between the Seka and the Arahant. So someone still in training, the Seka is the first three levels of awakening. There's the Sotapanna, or the stream enterer, the Sakyadagami, the once returner, the Anagami, the non-returner. So these three would still have the conceit of I am. So while the Seka has eliminated identity view and thus no longer identifies any of the five aggregates as a self, he or she, they have not yet eradicated ignorance, which sustains the residual conceit and desire, I am. It's the asmi mana. So in relation to the five aggregates, the Arahant, in contrast, has eradicated ignorance, the root of all misconceptions, and thus no longer entertains any idea of I and mine. The other elders apparently had not yet attained any state of awakening and thus did not understand the difference. But the Venerable Khemka must have been at least a stream enterer. Some hold he was a non-returner, others a once returner, and thus knew the elimination of identity view does not completely remove the sense of personal identity. Even the non-returner, for the non-returner, an odor of subjectivity based on the five aggregates still lingers over his, her, their experience. So it's very subtle. And what's really interesting here to me is that he can see this clearly, that there's still this conceit there. He really has broken this attachment to the five aggregates and not identifying them as self and not identifying as mine, but still conceive this conceit of I am. So this is like if you're feeling distressed and saying, oh, I still see the greed in me, I still see the hatred in me, whatever. This is actually important progress on your path, that you can actually see these things. You can see what is still holding you back. If you're just oblivious to it or think it's okay, then you're not going to make any progress. But he's really identified the difference. He knows the difference. So he says, friends, the notion I am is not yet vanished in me in relation to these five aggregates subject to clinging, but I do not regard anything among them as this I am, the notion I am. So there's a conceit of I am. That's a subtle difference, especially in the English wording. It's harder to really understand what the difference is. So then Dasika went to those seniors and told them what had happened. Guess what happens next? Please, Reverend Dasika, go to the mendicant Khemka and say to him, Reverend Khemka, the seniors ask, when you say I am, what is it that you're talking about? I love that. Bhante Sujata is quite direct with that, the way he translates it. What are you talking about? This I am. Okay. Is it form or apart from form? Is it feeling, perception, sankhara, choices, sense consciousness, or apart from consciousness? When you say I am, what is it that you're talking about? How does Bhante or Ajahn Tanisaro?
Pretty similar. Do you say I'm going to cut a part of it. Do you say I am form, or do you say I am something other than form? Do you say I am feeling, perception, fabrications, consciousness? Or do you say I am something other than consciousness? This I am of which you speak. What do you say I am? So he's kind of, what are you talking about? What are you saying you are? If you're not that, what are you saying you are?
So then Venerable Dasika approached the elder bhikkhus and reported what the Venerable Khemka had said. They replied, come, friend Dasika, approach the bhikkhu Khemka and say to him, I'm repeating what Bhikkhu Bodhi's translation. The elders say to you, friend Khemka, you speak of as I am. Do you speak of form as I am, or do you speak of I am apart from form, and so on with the rest of the aggregates? Do you speak of feeling, perception, volitional formations, consciousness as I am, or do you speak of I am apart from consciousness? When you speak of this I am, friend Chemica, what is it that you speak of as I am? And so, yeah, Venerable Dasika says, yes, yes, friends. And he goes trotting back over to, I don't know how far it is. He's walking back and forth, but even if you would hear it, if somebody was in the basement here and they were sending the person up to my room back and forth, oh, go ask her. This is back and forth. Okay. Or out to the neighbor's house or something. He'll be walking back and forth quite a bit. So, when you say I am, what is it that you're talking about? And so, Venerable Dasika says, yes, Reverence, and he relayed the message to Khemaka, who replied, enough, Reverend Dasika. What's the point in this running back and forth? Bring me my staff. I'll go to see the senior mendicants myself. So he's like, this poor guy's in his sick bed. And he gets so frustrated that he decides he's going to get up and go there himself. So maybe the speaking on the Dhamma has actually helped him feel better. What do you think? Then Venerable Khemaka, leaning on his staff, went to the senior mendicants and exchanged greetings with them. They may have been senior in monastic years. When the greetings and polite conversation were over, he sat down to one side and they said to him, Reverend Khemaka, when you say I am, what is it that you're talking about? Is form apart from form? Is it form or apart from form? When you say I am, what is it that you're talking about? Reverence, I do not say I am with reference to form or apart from form. I do not say I am with reference to feeling, perception, choices or volitional formations, sense consciousness, or apart from consciousness. For when it comes to five aggregates, five grasping aggregates, I am not rid of the conceit I am, but I don't regard anything as this. I am this. I do not regard anything as I am this. So that's quite, you have to really kind of contemplate what does that mean actually. So he doesn't see the aggregates or anything. So, friends, even though a noble disciple has abandoned the five lower fetters, still in relation to the five aggregates subject to clinging, there lingers in him a residual conceit, I am. So if he's abandoned the five lower fetters, then that would make him anagami. This is even though a noble disciple. A desire, I am. An underlying tendency, I am. That has not yet been uprooted. Sometime later, he dwells contemplating the rise and fall in the five aggregates subject to clinging, such as form, such as its origin, such as its passing away, such as feeling, such as perception, such are volitional formations, such is consciousness, such is its origin, such is its passing away. He or she, they dwell, thus contemplating the rise and fall of the five aggregates subject to clinging, the residual conceit, I am, the desire, I am, the underlying tendency, I am, that had not yet been uprooted. This comes to be uprooted. So he understands what needs to be done in order to uproot these aggregates. He's describing the insight practice of examining the aggregates in terms of their origin and their how is it to sometimes to the rising and passage, such is this form, such is form, such is its origin, such is its passing away. Oh, I don't see that part here in this translation. Maybe it's. Oh, that's weird. Okay, the problem is I skipped over a part. That's what happened. My fault. So I jumped the queue and that's what was going on. And so that's the problem of going back and forth between two translations. But anyway, so he says a simile before he describes that insight practice. When it comes to the five aggregates, I am not rid of the conceit I am, but I don't regard anything as I am this. It is like the scent of a blue water lily or pink water lotus, white lotus. Would it be right to say that the scent belongs to the petals or the stalk or the pistil? You didn't correct me. I jumped over this simile, which is quite beautiful.
It is beautiful.
No, Reverend. Then, Reverends, how should it be said? It would be right to say that the scent belongs to the flower. It doesn't belong to any part of the flower, but it's just this scent. And it's the metaphor of a scent, something subtle as the scent of something. In the same way, Reverends, I don't say I am with reference to form or apart from form. I don't say I am with reference to feeling, perception, choices, or volition, sense consciousness or apart from sense consciousness. For when it comes to the five aggregates, grasping aggregates, I am not rid of the conceit I am, but I don't regard anything as I am this. So the fragrance of I am is still lingering. And then here comes the part about the such as each aggregate and the origin, and such as the origin, and such as the passing away. Although a noble disciple has given up the 5 lower fetters, they still have a lingering residue of the conceit, I am, the desire, I am, and the underlying tendency, I am, which has not been eradicated. After some time, they meditate, observing the rise and fall in the 5 grasping aggregates. Such is form, such is its origin, such is the origin of form, such is the ending of form. So this is iti rupam, iti rupasa samudayo, iti rupasa atangamo. Atangamo. And then at the very end, it does say ending. The ending is a atta, is goes out, disappears, is extinguished, goes out. It's passing. That's how it's often is translated as passing. Such is feeling, such is perception, such are sankharas, choices, volitional formation. Such is sense consciousness. I'm translating it as sense consciousness to be a little more clear. Such is the origin of sense consciousness, such is the ending of sense consciousness. As they do so, that lingering residue is eradicated. Suppose there was a cloth that was dirty and soiled, so the owners gave it to a launderer, and the launderer kneads it thoroughly with salt, lye, cow dung, and rinses it in clear water. So they had a lot of uses for cow dung. I think it might have been fermented a little bit to get the ammonia going, to have it as a cleaning agent. So, although the cloth is clean and bright, it still has a lingering scent of lye, salt, lye, or cow dung that has not been eradicated. The launderers return it to its owner, who store it in a fragrant casket. And that lingering scent would be eradicated. In the same way, although a noble disciple has given up the 5 lower fetters, they still have a lingering residue of the conceit, I am, the desire, I am, the underlying tendency, I am, which has not been eradicated. After some time, they meditate, observing the rise and fall of the 5 grasping aggregates. So he may actually be in this process, really, although he was in a lot of physical distress, being sick, so sick, he may have been doing this. Because he knows what he still needs to do in order to eradicate this conceit of I am. So after some time, so it's a practice, maybe an ongoing practice that may take some time. So they meditate or contemplate. Such is form, such is its origin, or such is the origin of form, such is the ending of form. And the same with feeling, perception, volitions, or choices, such as consciousness, such as the origin of consciousness, such as the ending of consciousness. As they do so, that lingering residue is eradicated. When he said this, the senior Renegade said to Venerable Khemaka, "We didn't want to trouble Venerable Khemaka with our questions, but you are capable of explaining, teaching, asserting establishing, clarifying, analyzing, and revealing the Buddha's instructions in detail. And that's just what you've done. That's what the Venerable, let's see. That's what the Venerable Kemaka said. Satisfied, the senior mendicants were happy with what Venerable Kemaka said, and while this discourse was being spoken, the minds of the 60 senior mendicants and of Venerable Kemaka were freed from defilements by not grasping. So they all became arahants. So when that was said, the elder bhikkhus said to the Venerable Kemaka, "We did not ask our questions in order to trouble the Venerable Kemaka, but we thought the Venerable Kemaka would be capable of explaining, teaching, proclaiming, establishing, disclosing, analyzing, and elucidating the Blessed One's teaching in detail." And the Venerable Kemaka has explained, taught, explained, and so on. And that is what they said. It says, this is what the Venerable Kemaka said. Elated, the elder bhikkhus delighted in the Venerable Kemaka's statement. And while the discourse was being spoken, the minds of the 60 elder bhikkhus and of Venerable Kemaka were liberated from the taints by non-clinging. So sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. So actually, I didn't notice it was 60 elders. So 60 elders trooping all the way over to the sick person's sick bed would be a little bit disturbing. So this may have been the reason why. So it's such a beautiful sutta, I think, with the metaphors, and it's one of the things this sutta is known for is that someone, while giving a discourse, became awakened in the process of giving the discourse. So this is often cited for people that are in the position of being a teacher, and they say, well, I still have work to do. So the process of really for ourselves to really examine the teaching and to be able to explain it to others, sometimes it's a way of pondering the teaching, and apparently a person can awaken in this process. So I'm going to check if there are questions. I see a foreign language I can't read with a lot of writing. If someone else can understand that, that's fine. I don't. Oh, okay. They're asking me if I can read Thai language. I'm incapable of reading Thai. I'm sorry. I myself to explain about. Let's see what this is. I myself to explain about Noble Fourth Truth and Noble Eightfold Path. Maybe that's what that Thai script is explaining about the Four Noble Truths. Yeah, I'm not sure. What that means. The Four Noble Truths. The Fourth Noble Truth is a Noble Eightfold Path. I think maybe that's what they're saying. So there's a question here from Sud. Dear Aya, if someone says, I am stream enterer or I am anagami, are they playing into the notion of self-craving for becoming again, or simply deluding themselves? Well, I am. Oh, okay. I am. I'm not saying this about myself. So say if I were to say I am, I have this particular attainment. There's the I am there. I think this is what you're saying. If I say I am a water glass, I have, I am this. I have attained this. I am this. I possess this. I possess this attainment. No, yeah. I think it's a little bit, if someone goes around declaring it just in general to people, I would be very suspicious and think that they actually haven't had that, they don't have that attainment. Somebody says that they are, I am a stream enterer. Let me put this up. I am, yeah. Are they playing into the notion of self and craving? It could be, that could well be. And if you notice that Kemaka here never said I am any kind of attainment, but he knew the difference between what level of attainment he had and arahantship, and he clearly denied arahantship. But he also said something about the 5 lower fetters, that a person who has eradicated the 5 lower fetters, and he didn't say, I have done that. I had done that. Therefore, he's talking about it generally, but you would assume he's talking about himself. And so he does not see in himself that does not see the 5 aggregates as self or belonging to self. He just and this is where English gets a little tricky for that individual, that this self bound up with the aggregates. They don't see that. So they could be deluding themselves. Most likely they are, if they go around declaring it. Probably the wise thing to do if someone suspects they've some level of attainment, to go to someone that they would trust, a mendicant, someone they have confidence in that could help them understand if this is true or not, or if they're deluding themselves. But there's usually a person who's entered the stream will have confidence in the Buddha Dhamma Sangha that's so unshakable, and they'll have seen a glimpse of Nibbana. So they're confident in the path. And so they may not doubt it, that something very significant has happened. They may not call it to themselves stream entry. And they may actually, if they notice there's still this conceit of I am, they're still craving, they might be confused and think, oh, I don't think I'm a stream enterer because I still have greed. And just even something very subtle like wanting another cookie or something like that. And they'll go, oh, I'm so greedy, something like that. But yeah, so I would be very cautious if anyone's walking around declaring their attainment. And then for a monastic, this is why I was saying about Dasika. I believe that Venerable Dasika was a bhikkhu, not a novice, because a fully ordained monastic, a bhikkhu or bhikkhuni, cannot even say whether they're entering the jhanas, because that's considering an attainment. They won't walk around saying, I've attained this jhana or that jhana. If they're doing that, then they're breaking a precept. If they're lying, then it's a serious precept. It's a parajika, yeah. If it's lying about any kind of attainment, including the jhanas, making this proclamation about themselves. When it's false, then they need to leave the robes permanently, unless it's unless it's a misconception. They're misconceived about their attainment. But this is why it's really dangerous to go around saying it. And so we can only say this to another fully ordained monastic. A bhikkhu can say this to a bhikkhuni, or a bhikkhuni can say this to a bhikkhu, and bhikkhus to each other, of course. But if we even say something like that, I've eradicated so many fetters, that would be implying that I had that attainment. And if I walk around saying that, then I'm breaking a precept. If it's true, it's a confessable offense. If it's false, if I'm lying, then I better find some lay clothing quickly. Put on a blue outfit or something. So that's thank you for that question. That's a really good question. And then just the I am there would be kind of like also making it seem doubtable. Let's see if there's more here. Sood also is asking another question. I'm wondering if someone here in the live audience. Oh yes, before I go to Sood's.
So just speaking about what you were just saying, yes, yesterday I was having a question. I was having a conversation with Philip, where I felt like this is my last reincarnation, and I don't feel like I feel like I've detached from so many things. Like my biggest attachment right now is having a child.
That's pretty big.
Yeah. and just having a child, having a kid. That's like I feel like it's my biggest attachment to like this world. But even saying that you want another cookie, because I always seem like I want another cookie. I'm just saying, would that be one of those things where I shouldn't say, or I shouldn't, because I felt like
because that's a non-returner.
So I don't know if people could hear what someone in the audience was saying. I don't know if you want your name mentioned, but so one of the residents, temporary residents here, is asking about if they are saying that this is their last life or last birth or last
yes, my last incarnation.
Last reincarnation.
Yes.
But they still want to have a family.
Right.
So I think if you have a feeling, you might say, I have this feeling that this is my last, but you're not saying I know it is, or I've obtained something, or I would like this to be my last. I would hope that it was. You could say things like that, and for a lay person, there's no restriction on that kind of a thing. A lot of people would. I've heard a lot of lay people say, "Oh, this. I really hope this is my last. I really would like this to be the last." But if you're feeling like I have a lot of detachment to things, but I would just also like look at the fact that you that's a kind of becoming to wish to have a family, and that it's a big attachment to this realm of existence, the not even the more subtle realms. So there's attachment to the sensory realm, this physical realm. So, but I think it's to do the work towards that, to do the work of letting go of greed, hate, and delusion, keeping the precepts really well, whatever station you are in life, and not worry about rebirth. I would say, but to worry about purifying the mind and purifying your behavior, because I think it is a distraction, and that's the reason why we go into robes. I think it's because we maybe have this feeling of urgency that we want to do the deeper work, and being involved in family is a big distraction from that. So that's what I can say about that. And then Sud is continuing this conversation about conversely. Here, let me put it up. Conversely, what about saying, I am not a stream mentor, etc.? Would it be right to assume, I guess, that they are still in the game of deluding themselves? Since I guess the problem is assumptions? I think there's nothing wrong with saying that. But I don't, like if a monastic is questioned, they may avoid the question, say, well, according to my precepts, I'm not supposed to speak about that. And but if you know that you're a patujana or not and have not entered this stream, you may say something like, yeah, there's still a lot of work to be done. I haven't even entered the stream, or something like that. You may say something like that. But it's kind of like this awareness, like Venerable Khemaka knew that he still had work to be done. He couldn't declare arahantship. So he did say that. The Bhikkhu Bodhi is translated as a perfected one. He said, I'm not he just very clearly says, I am not an arahant. Somewhere he says this really bluntly, because they're saying they think that he is.
I think it's right in the beginning.
Pardon me?
I think it's right in the beginning. He says right away he's an arahant.
Yeah. And so he wants to clarify that amongst the bhikkhus anyway. If the lay people are, it's dangerous too if the lay people think you have some attainment and they're all swarming around you and wanting to offer all these wonderful things to you because they think you're just so highly attained. Then you might really want to clarify. Yes, there are other mendicants that are working hard, really worthy, just as I'm working hard. You might be vague about it, but you might say, no, please, please do not say I am this or that. Yeah, it's a little tricky. If a person has not reached some level of attainment and then they do, and they've been walking around saying, no, I'm not a stream enterer, and then they've entered the stream, and suddenly they're not saying it, then people will go, oh, I think they've entered the stream. and then you'd have to have all these people, they'll be going, have you? And then you're like, oh no, this is a problem. What do I say now? So yeah, this whole thing to try to avoid to say I am or I am not is probably a good thing. A better approach than making some kind of proclamation one way or another.
Actually, what does stream enter mean? Or the term mean?
Oh, stream enter. So we're asking what that actually means. Someone who has entered the stream is said that they have had a breakthrough to the Four Noble Truths. They have a deep enough understanding of the Four Noble Truths. They've seen cessation. They've seen the cessation of suffering. They've had a glimpse of Nibbana. And then so their faith in the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha is unshakable. And then they really understand the precepts, the 5 precepts deeply enough that they're not going to break any of those 5 precepts. So this is a quality of the Sotapanna or the stream enterer. And then they've broken the 3 of the 5 lower fetters. So the first one is identity view, and that's identifying with the 5 khandhas as self or mine. And this was the distinguishing thing that they were looking at. That he did not see. Venerable Khenmukha did not see. I am that he the self in the 5 aggregates, or that they were mine as mine. That he did not see them as mine. And second, or another one, I don't know if this particular order is right, but it's attachment to rites and rituals. That's Sila Bhatta Paramasa. The first one is Sakaya Didi, it's an identity view, that's a Pali. And then Sila Bhatta Paramasa is a attachment to the rites and rituals. It's like thinking that if I vow so many times and light the incense in just a precise way, or bathe in the river Ganges, there's like different rivers in India that are sacred, I'll wash away all my defilements. I do this, light all these candles and do all these rituals and say all these incantations, and then I'll wake up. I just have to do it precisely, without a mistake, precisely right. And then I'll wake up. So this is kind of attachment to some kind of ritual or rites. I think Bhante or Sujato says attachments to rules, and there's another one because of the sila, precepts and rites or something like that. Wrong grasp. What does Ajahn Tunu say? It's wrong grasp of rites and rituals or something like that. But it's a misunderstanding of that. So that's you don't have any attachment to ritual, basically. Or that, let's say, I accidentally, if I say the truth precisely, and I'm so terrified of saying something that isn't true that I'm just paralyzed with fear because I'm just so, I'm just, if I say the wrong word, then it's going to just throw me into some lower realm or something like that. So that all that is wiped out. If you make a mistake, you can make an amendment. Oh, I meant to say something differently. I'm sorry, I said it incorrectly. It's not you. You don't have such a trepidation about following the rules precisely. So this is a sila bhatta paramasa. And then last one is udakacha or something like that, the doubt, any kind of doubt regarding the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, and one's ability actually to, attain nibbana, attain arhatship. So you're on the path, you're in the stream, it's irreversible. You can't do anything at that point that'll it's impossible for you to fall to lower realms once you've entered the stream. You're not going to do anything that's going to cause you to fall to the lower realms. So this is one of the advantages of stream entry.
Spontaneity says money back guarantee.
Money back guarantee. I don't know about that. I don't know. I can't quite understand that.
It's guaranteed.
It's a guarantee. It's a warranty.
It's guaranteed.
Yeah. So
7 at the most.
So this is to strive to at least enter the stream in this lifetime, and as a lay person, it's perfectly possible. So keeping the 5 precepts impeccably. Am I contradicting myself? Keeping the 5 precepts well and keeping the 5 precepts well and really examining the 4 noble truths well, examining the teachings well, hearing the teachings frequently, studying the suttas, doing what you can. But there's a lot of, in the Buddhist teaching, there were a lot of lay people during his time that entered the stream. And since we have such wonderful and abundant translations of the teachings that we can apply our minds to, it's, I think it is possible as a lay person, maybe even as a monastic, who knows, to enter the stream, to go further. But at least that could be, that could be possible in this lifetime. Someone was saying, I was just thinking, if it was possible for a lay person, yes, possible. But watch out. If you enter the stream, you might want to change your clothing style and your hairstyle. So, although there's many lay people that remained a stream enterer until they passed away. They lived with their families until they passed away. But so we're over time, and it's been enjoyable speaking with you. I just love these suttas, so it just brings me a lot of joy to share them with others. And this is my understanding of the suttas, the best I can glean from hearing others speak about them and reading many translations and pondering the Pali. So forgive me if I've made any mistakes in my comments. May you all be well, happy, and peaceful, and may everyone have the opportunity to make a breakthrough into the Dhamma in this lifetime. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.